Welcome back to the Rowan's podcast. I am the Rowan. Grab yourself a cup of coffee, a comfy chair, maybe a nice warm blankie, and let's chat. This would be the cost of neurodivergence holiday edition. I have been thinking about this since Easter, and I realized Easter has passed and we haven't hit Mother's Day, and we're not in the middle of like a big Christmas season. I understand that, but this has been on my mind since Easter because I had an issue during Easter and like with the apparent cost of neurodivergency during Easter. So I wanted to bring it up because this can happen at any holiday season at all. And also I want to talk about intrusive sleep, which goes along with this. So I'll tell you what my experience was for Easter. The local town here had an Easter egg hunt on Saturday, and our church and the Catholic Church had our own little thing that went on. The Catholic Church had a pancake breakfast for anybody who wanted to come, and then after that, our church, the Methodist Church, had like kids craft day, and they could come and get their face painted, and they could paint pictures or whatever. They could make necklaces or magnets. They could make little bunny masks. They could do, all sorts of different things. And so I helped with that. I helped with the arts and crafts thing that day. So there's a lot of activity, a lot of things going on. For me, it's something, whenever something changes, something's different, it's a big stressor for me too. And so there's all that. And so that stressed me out pretty good. And then the next day we had church. And if anybody out there, you go to Methodist church, you may know that food is kind of like a big deal. A lot of times there's coffee and cake after church, but a lot of times there's like potluck, breakfast or brunch or something afterwards. Well, we had Easter brunch afterwards, or we were going to have Easter brunch afterwards. And plus, churches are normally a lot more fuller during religious holidays than most other times. Like people are bringing their families in, their grandkids in. Some people who only come during special holidays are there. So normally our church is very, very small, and the church was probably normally like quarter of the church is filled up. Well, it was probably halfway filled up, almost full. But we're still very small. So I would say probably about 30 people were there. But for me, that's a lot of people. Well, anyways, one of the other ladies were going to read the second reading. One of my other friends, her name's Annie. She was going to read the second reading, but she had brought eggs. She brought 24 eggs from her own chickens, and she was going to. Her plan was when she came in, because she didn't know she was going to do the reading, her plan was that during the service she would cook up those eggs, make scrambled eggs. And she said, okay, fine, I'll do the reading, but I'm going to need help with this because I need to make sure these are done or everything. And I said, okay, well then I can help with the eggs. We all know I'm not the world's greatest cook, okay, but I did offer. So I go into the kitchen, and all the other ladies are bringing in there's like one oven for baking stuff, one oven for warming stuff. And some of the other ladies were coming in and asking me, thinking I was in charge. This has to go in this warming oven. This has to go into the baking thing. Where does this go? Where do I put this? Is there a plate for that? 50 million questions. And I'm like, I'm not the one in charge. I'm trying to scoot them over to the one who is in charge. So there was all that. So I was trying to, do as much helpful as I can, but being like nervous and stressed because I didn't know, all the answers and stuff. And then this is different for me because these were farm fresh eggs, so the handling of them is a little bit different than it would be like the kind you get from the store. Because the kind you get from the store, you have to have refrigerated, right? Well, my friend Annie, she says, here, I'm going to crack up all the eggs for you. They'll be in this big bowl, so that when it's time, and I'm putting it over here by the stove, so that when it's time, you could just pour it into this pan, and you could, so that would be like 45 minutes from then. And I'm thinking, well, they got to be refrigerated. And she's like, no, they're fresh from the farm. As long as you don't wash them, they can sit on the counter and they'll be fine. That's change for me. So that's another stressor on me. Then the other thing was there's 24 eggs. She wanted scrambled, all 24 eggs in one bowl, right? And she wanted it not in a frying pan like I'm used to doing. It's a big soup pan, right? So they could all fit in there. And I've never done it this way before like that. And I was really nervous about it. I was nervous that I wouldn't be able to do it right. I didn't know what temperature. I didn't know, all that stuff. Plus, I was worried I wouldn't get into the kitchen at the right time because I had to be in there at 11:30 in order to get it done before church gets over at noon. And I was stressing about that. So I had all this big stress. So I did manage to get there at 11:30, dumping everything in this big pan. And I wasn't sure, I didn't ask her what temperature it had to be on. Because for me, okay, when I cook, everything has to have like the directions. It has to be exactly what the directions are. Follow it to the T. No variation, at least you shouldn't. And I had no direction other than dump them in, stir them around until they're done. So I'm sitting there going, well, low wouldn't be good. High definitely would be good. Medium, I don't know. And I had it on medium. It wasn't cooking fast enough. So I put it up to medium high. And I'm looking at the time and I'm stirring them and stirring them and stirring them. And they're not cooking. They're not cooking. They're not cooking. And then finally, like 5 minutes beforehand, it seems like they started cooking and stuff. And I was worried, I'm going to overcook them. They're going to be nasty, like hard and rubbery, or am I going to not cook them enough and whether they're going to be all slimy and stuff. So I was like really stressed about that. I did end up doing a good job, by the way. They were done. So there's no nastiness about them and no slimy. So that was good. And then we went to the brunch, ate, a bunch of people around, blah, 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 things like that. Okay. So then when I get on the way home, I tank. I shut down. I am so overwhelmingly tired, sleepy tired, so much so that from 2 days in a row. It took me, okay, so I had 2 days in a row of doing all this other stuff, being stressed, being overloaded, sensory stress, everything. It took me 2 days to recover from this. Like I was struggling to stay awake. I was falling asleep on my feet. Like it really, honestly, as I'm walking through my house, I'm feeling like I'm gonna drop and fall asleep. Like I couldn't stay awake. Sitting down, I was falling asleep. I just could not stay awake. And like I said, it took me 2 days, and I was shut down where I could recover. And that is a cost of neurodivergency when you're involved in holidays come around. There's change. There's change for your normal routine for one thing. So that's a stressor. Then there's a lot more people, a lot more activities, a lot, different things that are happening. Noises, sights, sounds, smells, everything is different. Everything is amped, and it can lead to a lot of overwhelm. And I'm going to read to you what I got from Google AI overviews. And I asked it if an autistic shutdown or ADHD shutdown can lead to sleepiness. And this is its answer. Yes, ADHD shutdown, often called ADHD paralysis or burnout, can lead to extreme sleepiness, fatigue, and sudden involuntary drowsiness. When the brain becomes overwhelmed by stress, sensory overload, or excessive demands, it can trigger a freeze response, leading to severe mental and physical exhaustion that may feel like intrusive sleep, causing a sudden urge to sleep. I'm trying to find where I had. Okay. The key aspects of ADHD shutdown and sleepiness. Intrusive sleep, a common ADHD symptom when the brain, when disengaged, bored, or overstimulated, forces itself to sleep as a coping mechanism. And I'm going to go into a little bit more about that here as I find it. Okay. Intrusive sleep is a sudden uncontrollable urge to sleep or a rapid transition into sleep, often triggered by boredom, monotony, or lack of stimulation, frequently associated with ADHD. Symptoms include extreme sudden drowsiness, while causes relate to dopamine drops during unstimulating tasks. And this intrusive sleep is actually a big deal for me because it can be dangerous because it's basically you pass out, basically is what it is. And for me, that does happen a lot. Like I could be reading a book and I will pass out. And this isn't just like, oh, I feel sleepy. I could read a little bit more and, but no, it's I'm out. Same thing if I sit and I watch a movie. I try to watch a movie with my kids, or a DVD with my husband. I will fall asleep. If I am driving, I have a very hard time staying awake. And a lot of times I have fallen asleep, and I'm thankful. I'm thankful to God that there are rumble strips in the roadways here, because that wakes you up. Although I have been taking some new different kind of medications, and since I've been taking it, I have not really had that problem that much. But that is why I don't drive very far on my own. My husband will not allow me to drive very far. It's not because he's being controlling. It's because he's worried about my safety, because I have almost gotten into head-on collisions before from this. And I'm sitting there driving. I seem like I'm fine, and the next thing I know, I'm asleep. And I fight to stay awake a lot of times if I drive too far. I can drive to our town like 40 miles away. I will struggle to stay awake, but I usually can stay awake. But if I drive farther than that, no, it's too dangerous. But like I said, this new medication that I've been taking, I have started taking some stuff, and it has actually helped. So I've noticed I'm not sleepy in the car anymore like that. So that's a good thing. But I just wanted to make intrusive sleepiness aware to people, because if you are experiencing like just suddenly you fall asleep like that after an overstimulated thing, or you whatever, that's probably what you're experiencing. And I would suggest you talk to your doctor, because there are treatments and are a way to manage it and stuff like that. So just want to make you aware of that. Deep exhaustion is another aspect of ADHD. ADHD shutdown. Shutdown is not just feeling tired. It is a neurological response to overwhelm, often resulting in brain fog and complete inability to function. High emotional overload, high levels of stress, anxiety, and frustration, common in ADHD. Common in ADHD can drain energy, leading to burnout, where the body shuts down to recuperate. Brain fog and paralysis. Shutdowns can manifest as a total loss of motivation and freeze state, which can appear as slumping, lethargy, or extreme fatigue. It's an ADHD shutdown in adults is a protective freeze response to extreme mental, emotional, or sensory overload, causing temporary inability to function, communicate, or take action. It is a form of nervous system survival response, similar to a deer in the headlights, where the brain shuts down due to overcapacity, often leading to withdrawal and deep exhaustion. Now, besides this shutdown, I had a rather severe shutdown about a week ago. It was to the point to where I was totally unresponsive. Like I've had shutdowns before where I'll just sit in the car and look out the window and just not talk and whatever. This is different. This was a complete shutdown. My husband said the next day that he said it was like I retreated inside myself, like I had nowhere else to go. So I retreated inside myself and just shut everything out and just was encased kind of in myself. And the image that I had during that shutdown and stuff was more like me being in like this pillar in the middle of this big storm, and I'm hiding inside it. I'm just like this stone thing with this protective casing around me, and nothing can get to me. And I was hiding, and everything was blocked out. And I did, and it was as a result we had an argument, and it wasn't a nice one. And I did feel like I had nowhere to go, and I just retreated inside myself. Everything went numb. I went blank. There was no response out of me. No. I couldn't look at him. I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. I was completely in a protective space in my mind. And all I remember is him saying to me, I don't remember the exact words, but it was something along the lines like, I've gone too far, or I pushed you too far, something like that. And what brought me out of it was that he laid with me on the bed, and he held me, and he put a blanket over me and just held me. And I laid like that for an hour, and I was just kind of curled up next to him in like this little ball, and he held on to me, and I ended up passing out, and I was out for a little while, and then I woke up, and I just laid there and laid there and laid there, and finally about an hour or so later I was able to get up and start moving around. um but I needed that. To be able to just lay there and have that deep pressure of that arms around me, and the blanket around me to keep me warm and stuff. I needed that. And I don't know, by the time I was able to move around and stuff, I started feeling safe and secure again, and that's what brought me out of it. So shutdowns can be pretty severe. That was the worst one I've had, and that's scary when you go through that. But shutdowns due to like other things, or shutdowns, like any shutdown, is hard to deal with. Um, did I say why it happens? I'm going to go through this. This is why it happens. Burnout from masking, constant long-term effects to manage symptoms to act normal, exhaust mental fuel, causing the brain to shut down. So yeah, um, back to the Easter thing, I did. There was a lot of mental exhaustion for me because I was trying very hard to fit in, to mask, to not do not screw up the eggs, of course. Anybody would be like that as far as the eggs go. But there were so many people there. Also, I wanted to feel like I fit in with everybody and normal. The only time I kind of unmasked was with my friend Jane, because I had to go into the kitchen when there was only just her and me, and there's like one other person. Uh, at that point, the kitchen was clear, and I had to tell her, I just, there's so much. I can't, I have to be in this, I have to be away from everybody. And she's like, well, you could go in the back room. There's nobody. I didn't go back in there because to me, it's dark and dungy back there. But um, I needed that break. I needed time to reset. And she knows that because she's the one that is the head teacher for our kids club, and she's the one that knows, when the kids get too much for me and things are too much, I have to go in another room. So she understands that completely with me. Um, Constant stimulation, the effort of managing executive dysfunction and processing sensory information causes severe energy depletion. Yeah, yeah. All the kids the day before. There was a lot to process, a lot of sensory information. There was a really fun and cute kid that was there that day on Saturday. Um, I believe she was on the spectrum, and she was very much fascinated by the face painting and she wanted to do that herself. So she grabbed like some of the regular paints, and I let her paint my hand, and she paint what she said was, it is really hard for her to, like with the regular paintbrushes and stuff like that, so it really couldn't come out as whatever. But she said it was a spider with splatter of bloods around it, and bunny ears on it, which I thought was unique. Um, and then my friend Jane, she painted on, I think what she said was a bunny on her cheek. And she got a couple other ladies got their hands and stuff. But she was really excited about it, and she kept me busy the whole time because she had a lot of ideas. She had a lot of ideas for the next year, what she wants to do for the next year, and things like that. And um, so she kept me quite busy, and I just adored her. She was amazing. But all that going on, plus with the other kids and things like that, and pictures. I was taking pictures of the kids and stuff like that. So it was like a lot of stimulation and a lot of struggling to not let my traits show. um, and this is poor sleep quality. People with ADHD often experience restless sleep or poor sleep habits, causing them to be tired during the day and increasing shutdown. Um, increasing, increasing shutdowns. My husband swears that I sleep really good because I fall asleep instantly when I lay down, almost instantly. He thinks I don't have a problem sleeping. Again, that is intrusive sleep creeping up on me. I pass out. I don't fall asleep. And I've tried to explain that to him. And it's a different kind of sleep when you pass out than when you're actually going into your little REM sleep and things like that. And you get the, whatever. and I do not stay asleep the whole night long. He says I do. I don't. I do wake up. He just doesn't know it. And my sleep is not restful. It says root causes: overwhelm from too many tasks, sensory input, noise or light, or intense emotions, perceived failure. Symptoms: intense brain fog, inability to start tasks, emotional numbness, withdrawal, inability to speak, listen, physical fatigue. These are shutdown stuff, of course. Versus procrastination. Unlike procrastination, choosing to delay, a shutdown is involuntary, where you want to act but you cannot. And this is one thing that I've tried to explain to my husband. It's like we come out of Walmart, like on the way to Walmart, I'm fine. Things cool. We're having big, long chats. I'm pretty active, whatever. Go through Walmart. I get halfway through Walmart, I start feeling tired. Get through Walmart, get into the truck. As soon as we get out of that parking lot, I am shut down. And he's like, oh, fine, you don't want to talk to me. Fine, then whatever. I'm not ignoring him. I'm not whatever. I am in a shutdown mode because I've completely had so much stuff, so much overwhelm in Walmart that I'm shut down, and I am looking out the window, and I have on here somewhere, I don't know if I've read this already, it is an inability. Like, you don't have the ability to really, the energy and the ability to maintain a conversation. You don't have the ability, like, to interact, and your brain has gotten into that freeze deer in the headlights thing. And here's the different types of shutdowns. They can be cognitive, which I can't read that because I screenshotted it and I didn't screenshot the whole thing. Oh, I already said that one. About procrastination, choosing to delay. A shutdown is involuntary, where you want to act but cannot. Oh, they can be cognitive, decision fatigue, sensory overload, or emotional stress trauma. Common signs of adult shutdown. I think I already said this one. Becoming paralyzed, unable to start high priority tasks, becoming quiet, distant, or turning away from interaction. Communication breakdown, inability to articulate thoughts or process new information. Yeah, my husband, a lot of times he'll, like, if I'm in a shutdown mode, and he'll try to ask me questions and to get me to say something and answer him, and it's like there's too many words in my head that I can't process them enough, weed through them enough to be able to string them together to get them out. Like, there's just so many, like, what do you choose? Like, I've heard some people say, well, just choose one word and start from there, just one word. Well, sometimes even just trying to pick that one word, especially when you're in the middle of a shutdown, like, a lot of times a shutdown for me, I've got so much crap going on in my head that I can't, that's what's locking me up. Other times my brain has gone quiet and it's just numb, which is weird. But how can you articulate if you have 50 billion things in your head? You can't weed through that to string together even just one word, two words even, to get out. It's really hard. Decision paralysis, overthinking simple tasks, and inability to make choices. Yeah, and he does have a habit of asking me questions during it. Like, do you want to do this? Do you want this? Do that during a shutdown? It's like, I can't. I'm sorry if I've gone over some of this stuff. I trying to keep a track of what I'm doing here because I'm going through my screenshots. And I'm not sure what I've read right now because I have multiple screenshots of the same thing. And plus, I've done this several times already, this exact episode. And it's been blabbing on and not very cohesive, so I decided I would redo it. And so I'm not sure how much has made it into from the past ones have made it into this one, so I'm really sorry. This is really, I worry about putting this kind of thing up or even saying that I'm struggling during these episodes because I feel like it's unprofessional and I feel like I'm going to lose listeners. But my best friend, executive creative assistant Sue, she has told me that for her, she feels that it helps people relate or helps people see that I can relate, and it helps the understanding and stuff that, for other people who are going through the same things, to know that I relate to them and that, if you get what I'm saying. And I understand that, and I kind of believe that is true. But I also know that a lot of people who are listening to podcasts, they want it a certain format. They want not a lot of pauses. They want just the information and not, somebody sitting there struggling. But I am keeping this as real as I can, real and true to myself and my personality as best as I can. I am trying to improve, so it's a little bit better, but I'm also being unmasked as best as I can during these episodes. And maybe I can, connect with people on that level. So I do appreciate anyone who has stuck with me during these episodes and listening to me babble sometimes. And I hope I hope I've been complete and thorough. If you have any questions or you want to add anything to this, please drop a comment down below. Like I said, I will respond to everybody so long as it's polite, even if it's a negative comment, even if you have a criticism of something, as long as you're positive, I will read it and I will respond back positively, in a positive manner. I will not be rude, or else I will try not to be rude. If I ever come across as rude, it's not intentional. I will never intentionally be rude to you. And also, and I should have said this right off the bat in the very beginning, please, if you like what you've heard, please like this episode. Please follow me. Yes, now I am trying to grow my audience not because I want to get rich or anything off this, because I know I won't, but I want to help others and I want to reach out to others. And I think I just want to be a help and I want to bring a light, into this world. So, that's partly why I do some of my faith-based content, is because I believe that can bring light to people too, to help them out. And in times, because it's been helpful to me, listening and watching other people's faith-based, Christian-based content. Sometimes when I'm feeling really down, just that kind of thing helps me. And I want to give back. I want to help people too. And I want to help people with their awareness with neurodivergency, ADHD, autism, ADHD. I don't know a whole lot. I only know what I know from my own personal experience, which is why I talk about myself a lot, not because I'm being conceited, but it is, I try to relate what I know from my experiences, and I do research. And no, I don't just do AI overviews. I do actually look on websites and things like that, proper websites. I'll admit I've gotten lazy over my researching habits lately, but I have had a lot of things going on right now, and so it's a little bit harder for me to sit down and do a whole lot of, proper research. But I do appreciate everyone, and shout out to my brother Gary. I love you. Shout out to Sue. Love you too, my friend. Shout out to my 11 subscribers on YouTube. I appreciate every single one of you. Even though I do not know who you all are, YouTube has only given me names of 2 people. And again, I have not committed them to memory. I believe one is a Margaret. The other one I don't remember. And it's not that I don't care. My ADHD brain is not just keeping it in my head. I will have to write them down though, so that I can properly shout out to you. But regardless of whether I remember your names or not, you are important to me. So, because you do matter, and everyone matters to me. And I want you all to know that you matter in all sense of the form, and not just to me, but just you matter. You matter to God. You matter to people around you. You matter by just being you. And I don't just say that as a catchphrase. I mean it. And I believe it with my whole heart. Everyone in this world matters. Everyone has interest, has value. Everyone has meaning. Everyone is important. And I think the world would be a lot better place if people understood that, if people knew that, and if people, because if everyone knew that and everyone believed that, we would be treating each other a lot better, I think. And plus, we would be treating ourselves a lot better, actually, too. So, and you all are loved, and I thank you. And shout out to my 5 subscribers on Spotify. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. And I really do mean it. If anyone has any ideas for a new episode subject, even if it's off, the spectrum type stuff, it could be anything, not political. Anything. Talk about movies. I would love to talk about the Project Hail Mary movie. If anybody wants to jump on board with me, we can discuss that one. I might actually have a different podcast on that actually. But it could be science related. It could be music related. It could be book related. I don't care. Let me know. I am willing to have new people on here and just chat. That'd be really great. I would love that. So, or if you just have an idea, I will look at it and see what I can do. But I really appreciate everyone, and I'm sorry. I know I keep saying that over and over again, but I can't stress how much I appreciate you listeners out there. But so thank you all again, and I hope you all have a blessed day or a blessed evening, depending on what time you're listening to this. Thank you so much. I'm sorry I keep saying that. It means a lot to me. More later. Bye.